Hi everyone, welcome to the self-knowledge lectures. Today we have our lecture number 46 of the self-knowledge course that, as you know, consists of 50 lectures in its phase A, 50 lectures that are aimed to give you the tools and the information so you can get to awaken 100% of your consciousness, so you get to know yourself, to achieve the self-realization of your being. We are going to study today how to control nocturnal emissions and sexual falls. And well, this is a very important lecture for all of you who are working in order to achieve chastity. So, just a moment. We are going to see that the objective of today's lecture is that we can study some aspects that prevent us from achieving perfect chastity. So the first thing that we need to talk about today is what is chastity? What is the real importance of the sexual creative energy? Because actually chastity is a virtue, and it's like the virtue of the non-fornication. Okay, fornication, for those of you who don't really know the term, is to spill our available sexual energy, is to make a bad use of the power, the creative power that is within you and that is in your powerful creative sexual energy. So chastity, as you can see here, is the most precious treasure that we have and that we can acquire. Because we don't have it until we make a work on ourselves, on our psychology, on the elimination of all our lustful defects, as we were studying in the lecture number 43. And why we say it is a treasure, chastity, because when you have chastity, when you have the power to never ever spill your sexual energy, nor through masturbation, nor through nocturnal emissions that we are going to see today, or nightfalls, as is commonly known, or and nor even in a sexual fall during the suprasexual practice. That is chastity, that you have a power within you that you can go to the sexual practice to practice the suprasexuality in order to make your sexual energy, once you are sexually united with your partner, to ascend through your spine and to fill yourselves with your sexual creative energy in order to create your existential bodies, the bodies that will allow you to have presence in the different dimensions of nature. And well, that actually the creation of those bodies, of an astral body, a mental body, a causal body, buddhic body, atmic body, are the greatest spiritual creations that we can do, because that will give us the opportunity to move at will and consciously in the different dimensions of nature. So we are going to have a body, likewise you have in this third dimension, and it will allow us to move at will in all dimensions of nature and of course in all the universe. And that is the importance of the sexual creative energy. I mean, it's very important that we start making ourselves aware of the mistake that we are making every time that we, because of, out of pleasure, out of a pleasure that actually lasts, 5 seconds, that's an orgasm. Well, actually, you are wasting the power that is within you, the energy that can make you become a creator god. Yes, you are spilling, you're wasting that energy in a sexual intercourse with fornication, reaching orgasm and ejaculation. If you learn to transmute your sexual energy then you're going to be able to make the greatest spiritual creations that are possible to create, and you are able and you can be able to awaken 100% of your consciousness, because when you make that sexual energy ascend, you are actually awakening the higher centers, and you are, well, regenerating your physical body and regenerating your vital body. And well, what is the problem? That when we are working to achieve chastity, that is to never reach fornication again, we are going to find that there are many things that prevent us from achieving that perfect chastity. And it is because, okay, we are not masturbating ourselves anymore. But we are having, for example, from time to time, a nocturnal emission. What is a nocturnal emission? It's the involuntary exit of the semen commonly during a erotic dream. In the case of the men, is the wet dream, that they find the semen in the sheets when they wake in the morning. In the case of the woman, the same, but you don't find the semen, right? But anyway, when the woman reach the orgasm through a nocturnal emission, is also spilling her or burning her sexual energy. Okay, and the other way in which we are commonly falling or losing our sexual energy until we achieve that perfect chastity is in sexual falls. What is a sexual fall? Is when you go to practice suprasexuality with your partner, and you reach state of overexcitement, and you go and you reach your orgasm and ejaculation. So you lose your sexual energy during the practice of the suprasexuality. And today we are going to study what are the aspects that commonly lead us to lose the energy in a nocturnal emission or in a sexual fall if you don't have a partner. Today you are going to learn about a practice that will allow you to maintain a control on your levels of sexual energy until you have a partner with which you can use that energy in a creative way to start creating your existential bodies. And if you have a partner, you will also need to study this, because even though you have a partner and you are trying to practice the supersexuality, until you achieve the perfect chastity, you're going to be experiencing night falls or nocturnal emissions and sexual falls during the practice of the suprasexuality. And well, let's see certain aspects that are all the time leading us to nocturnal emissions and sexual falls. If we actually work on each of these aspects, we are going to see a lot of improvement in our chastity. Okay, so we are going to see today psychological aspects, certain aspects for Black Lodge attacks, because when a person is there trying to save their sexual energy, as the Black Lodge, and I mean witches, black magicians, dark entities, they are totally aware of the power of the sexual energy. I mean, they know that the sexual energy is what gives a person the elixir of the long life, is the one that gives a person the power to be a magician. And as they don't save their own energy, because they don't want to stop experiencing the pleasure, right? What they do is that they steal energy from others. So when we are in this work of becoming white magician, and we are not stealing energy from others, but we are saving our own, we need to learn how to protect that energy from the Black Lodge. And we are going to study that today. We are going to see certain external aspects that can lead us to nocturnal emissions and sexual falls, and some, and these for the married ones, we are going to study aspects directly in the practice of suprasex. So let's start studying certain psychological aspects. And the first one that we find are the impressions. I forgot to say, if you have any question, remember that you can leave your questions down there in the chat and I will be gladly solving any question that you have, okay? Well, the impressions. The impressions are the, let's say the information or not, let's say the information are like the impressions that we receive from the outside world through our five senses of external perceptions, and that make our sexual energy to become activated. They can be uh, because of things that we see. For example, as you can see here, this is someone that is very attractive or that is dressed in a very suggestive way, or because you are, I don't know, the social media and there you see a video of someone who is, I don't know, dancing in a way that arouses you, or you are directly, I don't know, watching porn. I mean, that is a psychological defect that we must work on, and we are going to see that later on. But that is, you see something or you hear something that you, with your mind, with your lasciviousness, you go there and you relate to a sexual scenario, and that make your sexual energy become activated. Or you smell something, maybe, I don't know, a perfume, anything that reminds you to sex and that activates your sexual energy, or you taste something or you touch something, someone, I don't know, caress you or kisses you, and then your sexual energy becomes activated. Those are the impressions. And what are the things with impressions? That we need to work on them with the psychological depth in order to transform those impressions. If we receive an impression and our sexual energy is activated and we don't work on that, that impression, that lust that is activated in you and that made your sexual energy become activated, is like polluting your sexual energy. And two things are going to happen if you don't transform those impressions. The first one is that when you are, for example, practicing the suprasexuality and you were there, you saw something that makes you, I don't know, become aroused. When you are there having sex, practicing suprasexuality, that thing is going to return to your memory. That thing that you, the thing that you saw, the thing that you smelled, the thing that you touched, the thing that the impression is going to return. Okay, and it's going to make you, because you know our instinct is like it's like a recorder. Then there we have the memories of the water. And when you remember something, you experience the same thing again in your whole body. And you are there practicing supersex, and that impression comes again, and there you are going to overexcite yourself, and in that practice, it's going to be very hard for you to stop, to not reach that point of overexcitement, and then you have a sexual fall. That is the importance of being practicing this the psychological depth from moment to moment. And anytime that you receive an impression, you observe yourself and you eliminate all the reactions that you are having in your body, all the sensations. You ask for death to your divine mother, so you can develop that balance and that state of strength. I don't know, like you have a power over your whole body. Also, you need to be working the psychological depth with the way in which you are seeing people, because actually we have like a very, very polluted mind, and we are not able to see someone, for example, naked, who is attractive, without, I don't know, losing control of our body, of our emotion, of our mind, of our sex. We are there all the time having a lot of reactions. And the reality is that if we are working on the development of our spiritual part, we need to become like little children. We need to be pure. We need to make our eyes, every one of our senses, pure. And we are going to do so by reflecting, by practicing the reflective meditation, and by eliminating all of the psychological defects of loss that are manifesting in that situation. The other thing is that as every impression that you receive during the day is activating your sexual energy is becoming polluted during the whole day. And when you go to a practice of supersexuality and you try to upload that sexual energy as it is already heavy because it is contaminated with all of that lust, then it is like very, very hard or impossible to make that energy ascend because it is like heavy, and it's like tending to go down and out, outward. That is the reason why we need to be working on the impressions. And if you don't have a sexual fall, or if you are single, what is going to happen is that you are going to, when you're going to the astral plane, when you are dreaming, then that impression is going to project again in the screen of the dream or in the astral plane, and you are going to there have the nocturnal emission. Why we have nocturnal emissions? Because we are connected to our physical body through the silver cord. And as you know, we unfold ourselves every night. When the physical body falls asleep, we unfold ourselves to the astral. And when we are there with our astral body and we receive all of those sexual impressions, and we are there living the things that we imagined in that situation, that all the sensations that we experience in the astral body are sent to the physical body through the silver cord, and the physical body receives all of those impressions, all of those sensations, all of those reactions, and you end up feeling or experiencing the orgasm, the ejaculation in the physical body. That is the nocturnal emission or the nightfall. And well, what happens that if you don't transform the impression, they are going to commonly become the second psychological aspect, that is the identification. What is identification? Is that you received an impression and you give to that impression your attention. You start thinking and thinking about it. You, for example, saw the attractive girl or guy, and you cannot stop thinking about it, and you are there making your sexual scenarios in your mind, and there to that lust, to that impression that you received, you are giving your attention, you are giving your time and your energy to that defect. And when you give your energy to a defect, it becomes like bigger and bigger and bigger. And that way you can last like the whole day identified with a sexual situation that you live during the day. And that way it's going to be like more possible that you are going to have a sexual fall or a nocturnal emission, because it is like when you fall into the identification, it becomes like stronger than the only when you just receive the impression and you let that go. Okay, if you just let the impression like go, it makes something in you. You know, it already activates your sexual energy. It already left something behind, and or inside, and you're going to experience something. But if you fall into the identification, it's going to be something stronger. And when you are there in the practice, and when you go to sleep, it's much more probable that you are going to experience that situation. If you practice a psychological death with anything that comes into you, you don't allow yourselves to become identified, to lose your consciousness, your energy in that situation, in that defect. If you practice the psychological death, then you are freeing yourself from that consequence, okay? And you are freeing your sexual energy You are not letting your sexual energy to become heavy, to become like polluted because of lust. The third psychological aspect is lasciviousness. And what happens that when you see something that makes you feel a sexual desire, but you cannot, for example, go and have sex with that person, um, your mechanical imagination start there thinking and overthinking about that. Most of us fail because of these aspects, because of the lasciviousness, because we are like most of the time thinking about sex. We have our own porn in our minds. We need to stop watching porn because we are actually polluting our minds. And we need to stop making porn in our minds because we see something, someone that is attractive to us, and we are immediately imagining a lot of things. It can be romantic scenarios, and it can also be sexual and pornographic scenarios. That is the lasciviousness. It's a frustrated sexual desire that turns into that mechanical imagination. If you are the whole day thinking in sex, imagining sexual scenarios, and all of that, then you are not going to be able to ever achieve chastity. So it is very important that we are all the time practicing the self-observation, and that we learn to control our minds. That we don't let our minds to wander to go to that caves in your psychological world or psychological country where you are there imagining all kinds of sexual situations. You, by practicing the psychological death, you can like go out of this and eliminate this defect of the lasciviousness. And the fourth psychological aspect are the lustful details. And they are manifested in our daily lives. I mean, we are experiencing the manifestation of our own lust during the whole day, even with our own partner, because we see our partner, I don't know, is very like cute today, and if we self-observe, we are going to see that several details of lust are manifesting in our energy centers. For example, in our sexual center, we are going to experience arousal. We are going to, we are going to feel that our sexual center is already activated, that our sexual energy became activated. And in our instinctive center, we immediately feel like the attraction. And if we can't have sexual intercourse with that person, we can feel frustration that comes from the lust, the unsatisfied lust. In our emotional center, we can feel like if we are in love, oh my God, all those things that we feel in our emotion that are part of the lust. And in our mental center, we start idolizing that person. We start imagining scenarios, lasciviousness, right? And in our motor center, well, we can start talking, saying lustful things to that person, or we can be staring that person like this with that lustful sight. And actually, those are like things that we need to be like in self-observation the whole day to discover how the lust actually manifests in us, so we can work on that also with the psychological death. But actually, we in lecture number 43, we were studying several details of lust that that all the times are taking us to fornicate, to spill our sexual energy. And we were studying aspects of masturbation, of, for example, oral sex, anal sex, collaborated masturbation, pornography, homosexuality. There were like a lot of lustful defects that is very important that we start working on ourselves so we can purify our psychology, but also we can purify our sexual practices. And well, those are the psychological aspects. Now let's see what I was saying. The aspects because of black lodge attacks. And that is that a witch can try to steal our sexual energy during the night, but from the fourth dimension. And that is what is called a sleep paralysis, for example. And in the physical plane, the person experiences spilling of the sexual energy, the same because of the silver cord. But anyways, you are there like trying to sleep. You are like in this state between sleeping and awake, and that way you start feeling like someone is like pressing you, like if you can move. And actually, those are dark entities that are there trying to steal your sexual energy. Even the incubus and the succubus that we studied also in the lecture 43 can come and do this type of attacks. And well, that is an attack, sorry, from the fourth dimension. But there are also attacks during the sleep that takes place on the astral world or through the astral world or the fifth dimension. And that is in the wet dreams. I mean, that is when you go to sleep. And now, not yours only, not just your psychological defects, but a witch, a black magician, a dark entity that can enter to your dreams and that can come and can like appear to you like very attractive, very erotic, and are going to try to have a sexual intercourse with you there in the astral plane in order to steal your sexual energy, because when you let your sexual energy go down and out, they feed on that energy, that energy that you feel. And well, how are we going to protect ourselves from those types of attacks? The first way, or the most important thing, is to work on the psychological death. Why? Because if you don't have lust in yourself, you cannot fall for any of these attacks, because you already have like a strong power and a strong control over your whole body, over your instincts, over your sexual part, over your sexual organs, okay? If you work, for example, on the defects of masturbation and you eliminate that defect from you, an entity cannot come into your dreams and try to make you masturbate yourself. It cannot come to touch you, because you already have a consciousness about that is going to, at that point, make yourself aware. Even that you are in the astral and you can conjure that entity and make that entity fly. If you work on your prototype defects, the one that likes the girl like this, the hair like that, the boobs like this, the legs like that. If you eliminate all of that, then those entities cannot like appear in those like sexy ways. Actually, those entities are very ugly. The reality of the witches is that they are horrible entities, but they can use your own mind, the things that you like, to like hypnotize you and make you think or feel that they are something like very amazing. So you like accept to have sex with them. Actually, if you see those entities here, they are, I mean, these are like cute to how ugly the witches really are. Okay, so the first thing is to eliminate our psychological defects. That way you're going to have a lot of power in your mind, emotion, instinct, sex, your whole body. And the other things that we can use to defend ourselves against this type of attacks are the conjurations and the closures that we learned, that we taught in the lecture number 7 of the phase A, the conjurations. You can find that lecture here in the Facebook page, Transcendental Knowledge, in the video sections. In YouTube, we have a channel, also Transcendental Knowledge, and we have another channel that is Self-Knowledge, that there you can find the lectures and you can study the conjurations. Also here in the Facebook page, we posted the conjurations in there, so you can read that information and you can learn how to protect yourself by singing the Bellowing song and by making the magic circle every time that you are going to sleep, or every time that you are going to make your astral projection practices. And also, of course, when you are going to practice the suprasexuality, it's very important to protect ourselves, because we can also receive Black Lodge attacks when we are practicing the suprasex with our couple, because there you are like trying to make a scent that available and powerful sexual energy, and any witch or any black magician that is around you can feel that a couple is trying to practice sexual magic, and they are going to try to steal your sexual energy. That is to send you a mental attack, so you over or excite and you fall and you have a sexual fall. So it's important that we protect ourselves every time that we are going to practice the suprasexuality. And there is another thing that you can do if you are constantly experiencing the sleep paralysis or a Black Lodge attack. There are people that wake up and find like purple spots in their body, and those are because of Black Lodge attacks. And what you can do to solve that situation, you can make a circle with black mustard seeds. You can, for example, like this, take a piece of wood and you can carve like this circle and fill the circle with black mustard seeds. And you make that circle. And you put in the center the scissors. It needs to be a steel scissor. The whole scissor needs to be out of steel. It cannot have like the part of plastic and another of steel. No, why? Because it needs to make like a cross with steel. Okay, so as you can see here, it can be a small scissor, but needs to be steel, the whole scissor. And you're going to put the scissor open, and the mustard, you put that there in your room, in a place that nobody is going to touch that. And you can ask your inner father to command your elemental intercessor, the same as when we are doing the magic circle conjuration. We ask our inner father to command elemental intercessor to ritualize the elemental of the mustard to catch the witch or the black magician that is disturbing you. And what is going to happen, that if this entity comes into your room to try to steal your sexual energy, the scissors from the fourth dimension, the scissors are going to get close. And they are going to be like cutting the link that this entity, or the link between the third dimension and the fourth dimension of that entity. And the entity is going to fall. And that way you're going to free yourself, or you're going to defend yourself from those types of attacks. And well, now let's study a little about the external aspects that prevent us from achieving chastity. And we need to study, or to make ourselves aware, that there are certain foods, there are certain substances that if we consume them, they actually damage our sexual energy. For example, if we are working to achieve chastity, we must avoid eating food that contains pork. Why? Because the pork is a very, very, very contaminated type of food. It doesn't matter how much you cook that. I mean, if you can see the porks cleverly or in the astral plane, you can see that there are a lot of larvae in those animals. That is something that we must never ever eat. And when you eat pork, the effect on your sexual energy, the way or the power that it has to rotten your sexual energy, to pollute your sexual energy, can last up to 15 days. So we must avoid eating food that contains pork or food that is cooked in anything that pork has been cooking. You are going to see if you are there trying to save your sexual energy and you eat this kind of food, you are going to experience how hard it's going to be for you. You're going to feel your sexual energy, how it's so heavy that you cannot like keep your sexual energy for a very, very long time in your body. You're going to feel all of that. Also, we must avoid eating farm-raised fish, fed with pork-based fats and steroids. We must avoid also eat fish without scales. They are like the same. Catfish or bottom feeders, never that eat fecal matter. We must avoid toxic foods. I mean, food that is already rotten. I forgot the other word. All cold cuts and deli meats, especially the ones that are based on pork. All types of liquors, as we studied in the lecture number 14, the alcohol and drugs, they both damage the sexual energy, so we must avoid, if we really want to achieve chastity, drinking any type of liquors because they impede chastity. So it is important to eat fresh foods because any of the above mentioned can cause nocturnal emission or sexual force. Another external aspect to study is the level of the cup. If you are there saving your energy, you are working on balancing your centers and you are saving your sexual energy, you're going to start like accumulating energy. And if you are not practicing suprasexuality with a partner, if you are not transmuting that sexual energy, then the level of the cup can increase and can tend to spill, because you have a lot of accumulated sexual energy. If you don't have a couple, that is like a very common situation, right? And if you have a couple and for any reason, because your couple is sick or because the woman is passing the menstruation, I think you can wait for 7 days. Anyway, if you feel like a lot of sexual desire, you can do this practice of sublimation of energy. Or if the woman is pregnant and you need to wait, like for example, for the 9 months, because we must not practice sex during the pregnancy, and the 6 months of lactation, then what you're gonna do, the guy, during that period of time, you're going to practice the sublimation of energy. And how is this practice done and for what? This practice, what it does is that in a passive way is making the sexual energy to ascend to the superior centers through a respiratory process. Why do I say a passive way? Because you are not practicing sex, and the only way to activate the creative power of the sexual energy is when uniting the two poles, the negative and the positive. That is, when you connect negative and positive, there you can make energy. You can make the power too. You can make the lifetime, right? So, in a passive way, we are going to make ascend this energy, and you do so when we are going to cover our left nostril. In the case of the men, they start with the left nostril. In the case of the woman, they start with the right nostril. And if you cover the left nostril, you are going to imagine, you're going to inhale. When you inhale mentally, you are mentalizing the ham, like ham, but mentally, right? And while you are inhaling and mentalizing the ham, you're going to imagine that this is the left nostril. From the left testicle or the left ovary, the energy is sending, is crossing, like in the spine, is crossing the sacrum, there in the distinctive center. Then it's going to cross again here at the level of the heart. Then it's going to cross again here at the level of the motor center, and it's coming here to this nostril, the one that where you are inhaling, and reaching this point. You retain the air and you exhale with sa, like that, sa. Then you cover the right nostril and you repeat the same hem. You inhale, mentalizing the hem, and you imagine with your imagination, you take the sexual energy from the right testicle or right ovary and you make it ascend through the sacrum, the heart, the throat. Come here, retain the air, and sa. What you are doing with this is that you are using those two channels that are Ida and Pingala, those like energy conduits that are represented, for example, in the caduceus of Mercury, like the two serpents that are in the rod, in the medicine symbol. That those are actually two conduits that we have around our spine, and that those conduits you are using to upload in a passive way your sexual energy in order to maintain the level of the cup. And with that practice, you are also regenerating your body and you are regenerating the neurons of your brain. Those damaged neurons becomes regenerated with that powerful sexual energy. And also we are let me see another thing that I wanted to say. We are regenerating our bodies, we are regenerating our neurons, and yes, we are helping to awaken our higher centers, but in a passive way. The most powerful way to regenerate our body, neurons, open our third eye, clean our pineal gland, make those higher centers to become activated is actually with the sexual transmutation. So we invite you, if you don't have a couple to practice the supersexuality, that you start asking your inner being that gives you a partner with whom practice the supersexuality. And if you have already a partner, that you start practicing the supersex, so you can experience all the changes that you are going to be like having in relation to your spiritual awakening. And this practice must be done for no more than 10 minutes. That is important. No more than 10 minutes every day. The single one can do this practice. The perfect time to do this is 4 to 6 a.m. that the prana of the air is like clean and everything is quiet. And at that time, the sexual energy is commonly like moving on, right? Is like a very good time to practice this. But if you want to practice this before going to sleep, it's okay. But it is recommended 4 to 6 a.m. Only 10 minutes of this practice every day. That way you're going to maintain the level of your cup. That is the second external aspect. The third external aspect that we are going to study today is the environments and the larva. And what happens that there are many places that we visit that we cannot see this with our naked eye. but actually they are full of larvae, of energetic larvae. What are larvae? Yeah, the larvae are remains of contaminated energy. There are places, for example, the motels, the hotels, where people go to those beds and fornicate, and then comes another couple and they fornicate and fornicate in all the possible ways. And what happens that there, those places are totally full of larvae. So you go there and you can find a place perfectly clean in the third dimension. You can see all the place and the sheets and everything perfectly clean. But if you cleverly can see that place, or you can visit that place in the astral plane and see what is moving on there, you can find that there are a lot of larvae in that place. And you go there, and those larvae stick to your vital body. And what happens that you go to your house and you bring those larvae with you to your own place. And other places, for example, the cemeteries, there the bodies of the dead ones are like disintegrating, and that produces lots of larvae. So actually, the cemeteries are very polluted places, and if you go there, lots of larvae are going to stick to your vital body, and that can make you, all those larvae have a sexual fall or a nocturnal emission. Theaters, movie theaters, for example, that people go there and they spill a lot of emotional energy, a lot of emotional energy. Churches, the same. People go and they sing and they hallelujah and all of that, and they are spilling a lot of emotional energy. They are fornicating through the motor center, through the emotional center, and those are very, very polluted places. And when you go there, you pick a lot of larvae. What happens, as I was saying, you go home, you bring all those larvae, and we need to learn to clean our places from this type of larvae. And if you at home were there masturbating, fornicating, there your own larvae are also there polluting the place. If you have any kind of psychic sensibility, you can actually feel in the environment when it is heavy, because there are lots of larvae there. If, for example, you move to a new place and you don't know the people who were there, you don't know what they were doing there, but you can move there and you can feel like that heaviness. You can like do this practice also. This practice is to clean the space, and it's the name of this practice is the swastika. And it consists of making this figure that you can see here, that is the swastika. It's not the same as the Nazi one, because this is like the crossing movement, which is the other side. The one of the Nazis is from the other side, which is the opposite of this. And the thing is making this figure with sulfur on a tile. We ritualize the sulfur the same as with the mustard seeds. So we ask our elemental intercessor to ritualize the elemental of the sulfur to clean the space. But we ask our inner father to ask our elemental intercessor, because we have no power. We need to ask the one who has the power, our inner father. Okay? And we ritualize the sulfur, and we apply ethyl alcohol to it, and we light it on fire. Okay? What we can do is that we can jump like 3 times on that fire to clean ourselves from larvae, and we go out and we leave that there cleaning the space. It will clean the smell of this strong, so avoid inhaling this. Open the windows, and every part of the house that receives like the odor of this sulfur, this burning sulfur, is going to become clean of larvae. And another suggestion, is that if you have, for example, to visit a cemetery, or, for example, a church, because I don't know, your brother is getting married, I don't know, what you can do to avoid the larvae to stick on your vital body. You can take a pinch of sulfur, a little pinch. What you can take in the tip of your finger, and you put that sulfur in your shoes. With the heat of the body, that sulfur is going to become activated, and it's going to be like a repellent from any larva. So no larva is going to stick on you. That is something in an external aspect. And the last one are in relation to menstruation. And during the menstruation or the menstrual process, the woman should sleep apart from the man and away from the altar, that is the bed in which the couple practice the supersex. Why? Because when the woman is on his process of cleaning her body, the energy that is using the woman in this process goes through an involution process and produces many larvae. For that reason, the woman should sleep apart of the man so the energy of the man don't enter into involution also and can have a nocturnal emission. And well, what is important to know that the woman have like the capacity to the body of the woman is like prepared for having this process every month, because this is a cleaning process. During menstruation, she is eliminating from her body not only the unused what is the name ovules and the blood, but also all the death defects are like she is cleaning like every one of her energetic centers. And that way, or that is a process that lasts 7 days. So the woman should sleep apart from 7 days. From the day that the menstruation started, you count 7 days. And if the blood, for example, stops in the 3rd day or 5th day, it doesn't matter. It's 7 days. And something that you need to know is that caresses, sexual caresses during this period can get also to revive dead defects. Another important thing is that the woman during the menstruation process shouldn't take showers or taking like immersive baths, because when you get in touch with the water, and if you in your, for example, your head, your spine, during those 7 days, that actually make a lot of damage in the woman's reproductive part, and you can suffer, the woman, from, for example, sexual impotence or coldness in sex. And also that is the most common reason for having those what is the name? Well, the pain that the woman experiences during the menstruation, that is most of the time related to taking baths during the menstruation. So what is the recommendation? To only make local baths. I mean, you take like a cloth, a wet cloth, and you take like local bath and you clean, the sexual part, your genitals that way, but you don't take a shower during those days. If you do so, you're going to experience lots of changes in your body. You are going to stop experiencing the pain during the menstrual period, and you are going to have more sexual potency. You need to practice this to experience that. And well, now let's study the aspects in the practice of supersex, because there are many things that we do in the practice of supersex that lead us to sexual falls, and if not, to later have a nocturnal emission. So The first thing is the lack of concentration. If we are in the sexual practice and we are letting the mind wander and we are remember things and we are, not concentrated there, we can easily become overexcited and have a sexual fall. And if not, if we control ourselves and manage to not have sexual fall, easily we can have a nocturnal emission later. So when we are practicing, we must concentrate in our own sexual glands, not on those of the partner, no concentrating on the body of the partner, all of that, feeling lost, but you need to be concentrated on your sexual glands, on your energy, and on the ascending process of your energy. And another important point is that we need to make gentle movements during the practice. Why? Because we need to maintain a level in which you don't overexcite yourself, but that you don't let your sexual potency, drops. So you are going to be all the time making gentle movements during the sexual practice to maintain the control. And the last aspect that we are going to study are the caresses without practice. That is, that if you are during the day touching yourself with your partner, you are lighting the fire, you are making your sexual energy to enter into in work, to activate. And you are like getting that sexual lab ready, but as you are not having sex, right? You are just touching yourself all the times there with your partner, sexually arousing yourself with your partner. The sexual energy, as it is not transmuted, it involutes, okay? And that bring later have a nocturnal emission or a sexual fall. So we need to, if we really want to achieve chastity, take into account all of those recommendations. And well, I hope that they are useful to you, so you can achieve the perfect chastity. And well, actually, this is today's lecture. Those are all the recommendations that we can bring you today. And I want to invite you to our next lecture that we are going to be studying. Today is Friday, next Wednesday. And we are going to be studying the eye of witchcraft. So we are going to be talking everything in relation to witchcraft, right? So thank you very much to all of you, and well, see you the next time. Ciao, ciao.